So this is a little bit of an impromptu video. I just did a video yesterday, and that should be uploaded, link here, on the Performance Model Y, which is pretty freaking awesome. And I thought I had everything kind of captured, but I really don't. And over the last couple of days, I've had so much fun with this car. And unlike the previous Performance Model Y, this one's hard to beat. And I'll explain all of that here. It's going to be a little bit more informal on this video, more walking around, because I want to show you a few things. I want to talk about a few things that make this Performance Model Y very different than the last one, especially when you're talking about value proposition of the long-range all-wheel drive versus the performance. That's what we're going to talk about today. Is it worth the $8,500 difference? We'll get to that here at the end. Okay, so I don't need to tell you, but there's some visual differences here. And finally, Tesla has moved away from the early days of it being the same exact car. Technically, we're on the same chassis, we're technically the same car, but they've added some visual differences that didn't used to exist. In fact, when the Model Y originally launched, you could get a stealth performance. So literally, it looked exactly the same. It had the same wheels, it had no spoiler on the back, it just had more power, and that was it. When you got the performance, it added a spoiler just like this one, and it added new wheels. Now listen, the Model Y Performance isn't for everybody. And if you decide to go with one of Tesla's other amazing options for the Model Y, Magback's got you covered because they now have version 2.0 of the Magback rim case. If you get the 20-inch wheel option from Tesla, whether it was the last version or this version, it suffers from the same issue, and that is the fact that the wheels, they stick out basically past where the tires do. And it's for efficiency purposes. They go with the narrowest tire that they can, but it leaves your wheel exposed. Now, Magback has come up with a solution for this that works really well. It's actually really easy to install, and this is a fantastic way to not just protect them, but to not change the look in doing so. As you can see, these things install super easy, and in fact, version 2.0 installs even easier than 1.0 because the rim case for the new Model Y, these Helix wheels, they actually don't require any special tape underneath. Literally, you just peel back the strip to expose the adhesive tape on the long side, and the other side's already got rubber built in, so it helps protect the wheel so it doesn't scratch it up during installation. And if you damage a piece, just like the last one, you just remove a piece and replace it with a new one. So not only are you protecting the base wheel underneath, but these covers are so easy to replace themselves. So if you do scratch them up, it's really easy to just replace the pieces that need to be fixed. So if you do get a new Model Y, you've got to check out Magback rim case. Code BTG15 will save you 15% on your order. Thank you so much to Magback for sponsoring today's video. And that's about it, other than the power itself. Now, this new Performance Model Y has a new motor setup. We have a permanent magnet in the rear and an induction motor in the front. Something like 550 horsepower or 500 horsepower and about 550 foot-pound of torque, somewhere in that range, and a 0 to 60 rated at 3.3 seconds. Now, understand, Tesla does their 0 to 60 with a 1 foot rollout, and my own independent testing in Mexico somewhere on a closed road. I was able to get 3.59. That was the best I was able to get. And allegedly, it looks like in Mexico on a same closed road, not that I did it. But this car will do a quarter mile in 11.66 seconds, which is really, really fast, like stupid fast. In fact, with different wheels and maybe cutting some additional weight out of the inside with removing seats and stuff, I think it would be possible to get this thing close to 10-second car, like 10.95 this car right here, which is insane, literally insane. And Tesla has kind of changed their approach to the Model Y performance in a way that's not consistent with the Model 3 performance. Let me explain what I mean by that. Model 3 performance, you still have track mode. You still go 0 to 60. I think it's 2.9 seconds now, like stupid fast. That car is amazing. It has a lot of the same visual differences versus the long-range all-wheel drive, but it is still made to be a track car on the weekends. This car, however, isn't really that. So this car has all the power. It has a really awesome suspension, but the suspension is not purpose built for the track. The power delivery of this car is pretty dang good, but it has some areas where it's lethargic, and that's not ideal for track. The reason why that matters is this car, #1 selling car in the entire world, it's meant for families. And this car is not likely to be driven on the track on weekends. Surprise, surprise. It's actually just dudes like me and wives like my wife that own these cars because they're fantastic family cars. They fit everybody so comfortably, so much space, but I can't take it to the track because we have too much stuff to do on weekends. That's where the Model 3 Performance comes in. Model 3 Performance still drives pretty nice, but this drives way more comfortable on a day-to-day basis than the 3 Performance. And that's kind of the point. That's what Tesla is kind of aiming for with this car. Keep it consistent with the base customer, which is families, and in the same time, give you the ability to crank up the power and still have fun, but you're having fun on pavement. You're not going to a closed circuit, that kind of thing. That doesn't mean this thing can't do that stuff, but with some upgraded performance parts with the suspension, you could probably boost the brakes, maybe something a little bit better that won't overheat so quickly. And this thing could be a track car, but I'm telling you, this thing is amazing on the road. So ride comfort difference between these two cars. This car in its previous configuration with the legacy Model Y, it was so bumpy and it was very aggressive. It did a lot of stuff that you would want from a traditional performance inspired vehicle. That means it's not very comfortable on the road. It doesn't absorb the bumps and things like that. It needs a stiff suspension. This thing has a really sophisticated adaptive suspension that allows the car to automatically, electronically change the dampening on all 4 corners in like milliseconds. What that means is I can turn this thing on to comfort and it just kind of glides. And it's very, very, very close to the nice, new, smooth ride we have in the long range all-wheel drive, which is butter compared. It's not even the same car as it used to be. I'm telling you, a different car altogether. It's so quiet, so smooth. This thing is so quiet and so smooth. It's just that much different, just that much right there in between the bumpers. So when you hit like rough road and the little imperfections, that's when you start to notice there's probably a difference in suspension, but not until then. You'll hear the thud, thud, thud if it starts to get really rough, where you don't in this car. For the noise, generally it's as quiet until you get to those rough roads or you're going super fast, and a lot of it has to do with the tires. So those types of noises are coming in a little bit clearer than they are in the long range all-wheel drive. Other than that, this is still the same amazing car that this is, just with more power and now with a new look. In addition, even the seats on the inside, I love these seats. And I gotta tell you, so my wife is a stickler when it comes to seats. And I struggle to find performance-inspired seats in cars that she gets comfortable in. And a lot of it is because of this right here. So she hates form-fitting seats like this. However, she really likes these seats. And I was shocked. These are the first performance-ish seats that I have seen her sit in her like. And so we still have these aggressive bolsters here, but they're kind of wide. We don't have too crazy of a bump out here. Let me show you. I'll just take you straight to mine. So this is what we're looking at here on the performance model. And then when you come over here to the regular one, as you can see, they're roughly the same. So it's not even like super aggressive down here. It's just here where they added a lot of additional bolstering and padding and all that stuff. And they just look so cool. The black piping is amazing. We've got the new performance logo here that we saw in the launch of the Model 3 Performance. It just, yes, so much yes. The other thing that you'll see that's different is carbon fiber. But other than that, it's basically the same car. So everything that's different about this car, other than the few things that I've talked about, it's all underneath the body panels. So the suspension itself is beefed up. The motors themselves are different. The battery is even different. And although this is not confirmed by anybody, this is pure speculation warning. This new battery right now is still the same charging profile as this one. However, based on some early interviews with Lars and others at Tesla, it sounds like this thing is limited by the hardware to 250. I don't know what that means exactly, other than this thing might actually unlock new charging speeds, which would be pretty crazy. It's only slightly larger battery pack, but the biggest difference in the battery pack is that buffer. So the buffer on this is only like 2 or 3 kilowatt hours versus 3 to 4. So they're shrinking that buffer. They're giving you more of the battery available. It's a new chemistry that's supposed to allow you to do that and still maintain the same characteristics of the battery that's in this one. So it's a new direction, and apparently it's making its way through to all the models, which is great. Everything else you see is purely looks, but I have not had so much fun in a Model Y since we got our first one as I've had in this one. I've driven plenty of performance Model Ys. They're just too rough of a ride for traditional families like mine. My wife would hate it every time we got in that car if we had a performance. And some people have that same wife. She just wants to be comfortable. She wants to have space. She wants to be comfortable. Kids need to be comfortable, all that stuff. But as soon as it starts becoming a stiff, hard ride, she's not too into it. This car fixed that, and I love that. Track enthusiasts are going to hate that about this car, but this car is not made for them. The Model 3 Performance is. This is a family car that takes this thing, cranks up the dial, and gives you something stupid fast. And at $57,500, roughly, under $60,000, good luck finding another SUV anywhere close to what this thing is delivering. Also, I'm going to take these caps off here in a second because these wheels, they look pretty awesome like this, but wait until you see this without the caps on. They are absolutely sick. They killed it with these wheels right here, and I love that. All right, after some fun tearing these things out, this is what the wheel looks like underneath, and it looks freaking amazing. I love the look of this wheel, and when you take those covers off, we still have the center cover here, which is good because Tesla uses acorn nuts that are exposed. They don't look real pretty. So keeping that on, dude, this looks amazing. So from that to that is incredible. So when you're on the highway going on road trips, place those bad boys on, but this is how I would rock it on a day-to-day basis personally. So the last point I'm going to make is about price. $8,500 difference between these two cars right here. And when you start to factor in some of the options that are included in this, that $8,500 goes away pretty quick. Let me explain. So there's an $8,500 difference between the premium and the performance. After you add $2,000 for the acceleration boost, $2,000 for the 20-inch wheels, and $1,000 for the tow hitch that comes standard, you're now only $3,500 different. But it doesn't just stop there, because right now you can get the performance in any color interior, any color exterior, meaning there's $1,000 for the white interior if you go that way, and $2,000 for quicksilver or ultra red, meaning it's a $500 difference. We're at $8,000 in options that do not change the price of this car, because you can get this ultra red, you can get the white interior, it already comes with everything else, and that would cost $8,000 to add to this car. You're $500 difference between these cars. This is honestly the biggest no-brainer ever if you're not going for the absolute base trim. But if you are, you're probably going with the rear-wheel drive anyways, which is a fantastic option and separate from this discussion. I think, in my opinion, this is a stupid good deal, even compared to the long-range all-wheel drive. And unlike previously, you don't have to give up the comfort and the things you're going to love about the long-range all-wheel drive to go to the performance. So what I'm saying is, get the performance. This thing is sick. I never really thought that the value was there for the performance of the last one, because as a family car, it's just not comfortable enough for all-around driving. Even the long-range all-wheel drive had a stiff suspension. That's been fixed with this, and it's certainly carried over to the performance, and I love that about this. So some of the drawbacks are all related to performance versus the Model 3 Performance. Example, when you take off in this thing, there's this little bit of time where it feels like it's holding back before it really lets the power in. And lining these two things up, this has the acceleration boost. This is as fast as you can possibly go in a long-range all-wheel drive. That's a $2,000 upgrade. This thing goes 0 to 64.1 versus 3.3. And visually, it's significant, the difference between these two cars in acceleration. So if you like the power, even if you don't like the power, this is just such a good deal. I don't understand how they were able to do this. And essentially, because of the ability to get any options you want, this thing becomes a no-brainer when you're already looking at this. It's just my opinion. Do whatever you want to do, and certainly get the color you want, regardless of what's the best value, because that was one of the very first things I learned about these cars. Get the color you want from the very beginning. And for me, gosh, it'd be hard to say no to this red because it just looks so sick. So anyways, impromptu video, a little rambly, a little less oh, it's a Camaro down there, huh? Anyways, where were we? Closing this out, impromptu video, all about performance. I am 100% on board with this car. If you're in the market, seriously, go drive this thing, or actually don't drive this thing, because you're just gonna pay for it, because it's that good. Seriously, that good. This car with the comfort of that, but the power of this, no brainer. With that, I hope that you enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll catch you on the next one.